The member for Fairfax will start his question again. The clock will be reset. The member for Fairfax.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Question to the Prime Minister. It's 114 years since women received the vote. A long time ago. It took them 41 years to get a member in Parliament. Yet in your ministry you have got a significantly lower proportion of women than voted at the elections. Does the government think Liberal women or members are less worthy or of lower merit than their Liberal male colleagues? Or do you just say you believe in gender equality and fail to do anything about it?
The Minister for Immigration and Border Protection. The Prime Minister will resume his seat. The member for Herbert on a point of order.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Order?
There are 237 people who lost their jobs in Queensland Nickel, and there are a fair few of them women still
wanting
their things.
Will resume his seat. The member for Herbert. Members on my left will cease interjecting. The member for Herbert knows that was a completely frivolous point of order against the standing orders. He was warned at the beginning of the day. That warning carries over. The member for Herbert will leave under 94A. The Prime Minister has the call. Prime Minister has the call.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And the member for Herbert was not, of course, in order, but the point that he made about the women and men who have lost their jobs in Queensland Nickel was nonetheless very well made. And the honourable member for Fairfax should consider his responsibilities to those men and women when he raises issues of this kind. But let me say, Mr Speaker, there are 9 women in the executive, the government, 5 in the cabinet. Mr Speaker, looking around our party rooms, we have a lot of talent. A lot of talent from a lot of women with great talent. We have women who've been journalists. We have women who've been teachers, university lecturers, an army officer. Many of our women members have had experience in small business. There are lawyers. There are a number of farmers. We have a pilot, after all, the Minister for Health, a very distinguished pilot, and Shearer's cook, no less. Mr Speaker, we don't. I have to confess, it's not a comprehensive list. We don't, as far as I'm aware, have any former trade union officials, but I gather there's plenty of those on the other side. Mr Speaker, I can say that we are committed as parties to seeing more women in Parliament and more women in the executive, and that is something that we will always move towards, we'll always work towards. And you know, in last year, 60,000 more women joined the workforce than men. In the December quarter, there was the highest level of female participation in our history, and that in full-time work. And that is a very good thing. Now, I have to remind honourable members opposite that they are presently standing in the way of the government's very significant reforms on childcare, which we know, if enacted, will have the effect of enabling more women, particularly those on lower incomes, to join the workforce and have access to that continuity of the workforce that is so important for every aspect of their life, economic, social, right across the board. And so we've targeted the highest rates of subsidies to those on the lowest incomes and more hours of subsidised care for the families who work the most hours. So it's a very good reform, and I'm not sure where the honourable member for Fairfax stands on it, but if he can use his influence with the opposition to support it, that would be a very useful piece of work for him to undertake.